I never said I was a victim. I believe I'm nobody's victim. Lisa, who it appears that she sent it to the press. Whoever said money cannot buy happiness never paid for divorce. I wouldn't use the word worried. Want to leave this chapter behind me once and for all. And if it was something to celebrate, I'm celebrating a new start.
Thank you so much for sitting down with me today. How are you, first of all?
Doing amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, you look beautiful.
Just trying to keep up with you.
Oh, no. I thought today this conversation was so important because there's been so much out in the media, and with everything out there over the past year or so, I just wanted to take the opportunity to sit down with you and get your side of the story.
Thanks for the opportunity. I'm very happy to be here.
I mean, I hope you say that at the end of this. But, you know, everyone has watched this situation with you play out on the Real Housewives of Miami. Now that your relationship with Lenny has become so public, we've seen it on last season of the Real Housewives of Miami, and I'm willing to bet everything that going into the new season that we're going to be hearing a little bit more about this. So, I mean, how do you feel?
I feel great.
Oh, okay.
I feel great. I think that if people really look at the situation, they're going to understand that the media always has to sell a story, right? This is just how the industry works. And me, for myself, I'm very comfortable in my truth. I'm very secure in myself. I know what I've done. I know what I didn't do. So just like any other background and outside noise, it's not really touching me too much.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great outlook to have, especially with something that you don't have control over this, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
You have control over what you do in your personal life and how you navigate your life. But when it comes to the media,
absolutely.
It's a monster that you're not, you know, you can't get ahead of.
You're absolutely correct. And we can only control our own reaction, our own actions. And most importantly, we can also only control like where our focus goes and our attention goes. And I choose to focus on positivity. I choose to focus on gratitude. And I'm excited for what's next.
I love that. So I wanted to kick things off with the backlash that you've received ever since your relationship has become public. You know, from Bravo fans, which, let me just say really quick, like The Bachelor, Bravo, any of these major just networks, you get a wild fandom. And as amazing as they can be, they can also, if you're not on their good side, they can go in on you. And you've been called a lot of names that I prefer not to say from Bravo fans, but also media outlets like Page Six. I'm just going to use one of them, mistress. What is that, like when I say that, what has that been like for you?
I mean, truthfully speaking, and with all due respect, sometimes, mostly not, but sometimes I will see these comments or I will read these articles and I will look at these labels, and it's, with all due respect, I don't know who they're talking about, but it's essentially like they created this, like the press and these storylines and certain TV shows created this like super villain, a super evil person, and it's just not me. I mean, she sounds like a wild time. I would go out with her and have some drinks, but it is not me. And I know my truth. I know who I am. I know who I not am. And in the end of the day, I'm just very secure in that. So these things don't touch me that much.
I mean, okay, I think that's a great way to look at it. But as someone who, and this isn't about me, but being on YouTube and knowing that it took me a minute to really digest a lot of the comments and learn how to compartmentalize where I was going, this had to have been a process for you. Or
Absolutely. To be completely honest with you, in the beginning, these things bothered me much more. I mean, nobody likes to be wrongfully accused of something they didn't do. And I mean, the extent of it has been pretty wild. I mean, the things people come up with, even to an extent of death threats, it's really horrible, dark things. But I firmly believe that you can only fight darkness with light and positivity and love. And it took me a lot to just get into a place where I can, as you said, compartmentalize. And to be honest, one of my most powerful tools has been meditation. I meditate every day. I also pray every day. And another thing which I already said, but I would like to repeat, it's so important what you focus on. Like, if you just read these horrible comments, like, it's easy to like get wrapped up and be in this like downward spiral. But if you choose to just keep busy and focus on your life and just surround yourself with people who know you and who know who you are and who know your truth and stay busy with work, then you're going to be fine in the end of the day.
I think that you just gave me a powerful tool, because I feel like as somebody who's been in a relationship with my husband for 10 years, I need to freaking meditate. So
I think you're in a method.
Yeah, I'll have to meditate. But,
sorry, Chase.
You know, I think also you mentioned something with the death threats, and these are obviously not people who are walking up to you in your day-to-day, but these are people who are attacking you on social media. And a lot of the backlash that I've seen, because I did a big deep dive into you before coming here. It's like doing my homework. This is my homework. I love it. You've been accused of cyberbullying, which is the same thing that you're saying that you're a victim of. I mean,
I just have to stop you here really quick. I never said I was a victim. I believe I'm nobody's victim. And I think even though dark things happen to me, I firmly believe that everything in life, the good and the bad, happens for me and not to me.
Right. I love that. It's important to explain yourself, and sometimes it's like, who do we owe anything to? Yeah. But explaining your position and saying, I'm not a martyr, I'm not a victim. So you're not a victim of some of these attacks. You are you, Katharina, and you have received death threats.
Yes.
So now from there, I'm going to move on and say, you've also been accused of cyberbullying on social media. We've heard about you posting photos in this Rolls Royce that, belonged to Lenny's ex-wife, Lisa. We saw your post about whoever said that money can't buy happiness has never paid for a divorce. And I just want to give you the opportunity here to let us know, is that what you're doing? Or are you talking about your own divorce? Like, where are you at?
Thank you very much for this question. There's nothing I would love more than to contextualize these things. So let's unpack them one after the other. As for the car, I was booked for a modeling shoot for a lingerie campaign. And the client asked if we can take pictures in the car. And my fiance has a few cars. And he lets me drive one of them, use them as a prop for a shoot. It was never brought to my awareness that this car belonged to anybody other than my fiance. Once these claims were being voiced, I asked him about it, and he said, it's not true. He even showed me the title of the car, so I don't really understand.
Showed you the title?
Yeah.
Wow. You went straight to it.
It's always, it's always been his car, always been in his name, and nothing really else, so I would never maliciously make digs at somebody else, especially if something is trivial like a car.
Yeah. Okay. No, that makes sense. But then what about the divorce comment? Was that pertaining to Lenny and Lisa, or was that pertaining to your own divorce?
So I do understand that people all the time can take anything you do or say and take it out of context and interpret it in whatever way they please. However, my own journey, and I think it's just important for people to realize that many times people in the media, things in the media being taken out of context and being trivialized. And in this instance, I was solely talking about my own divorce. I separated from my former husband in September 2021, and it's been a long, wasn't the easiest marriage, to say the least. It was an even more tumultuous separation, and I separated from him in September 2021, and it took me a year and a half to finally leave this chapter behind me and for my divorce to actually be finalized. So when that happened, I was filled with a lot of joy, a lot of relief. It was for me the day where I reclaimed a big part of my identity. I reclaimed my freedom, and most importantly, I reclaimed my maiden name, Nahlik. And to kind of give context to this situation, what's going on in my life, and that my divorce is finalized, of course, I couldn't wait to switch my Instagram handle back to Katharina Nahlik, my maiden name, and to just kind of offer an explanation to my followers. I made a comment saying, whoever said money cannot buy happiness never paid for divorce, and I stand behind that. And yeah, I'm just very, very happy to leave that part of my life behind me. And it was something to celebrate. I'm celebrating a new start.
So it had everything to do with you.
Absolutely.
All right. You know, I'm going to circle back to the Rolls Royce in a few minutes because I have heard about the listening device. And I'm going to circle back to your ex and your past. But I think want to go into a happy space for you.
I mean, look, we are in a very happy space.
I mean, listen, looking around, yes, I get that.
So much beauty around us.
There's a lot to be grateful for in this moment. So before we dive into the Rolls Royce, and I've heard rumblings about listening devices, there's been a lot, and I have a lot to ask you. Really, I mean, a lot. I want to kind of go to a happy place for you and ask you to paint the picture for us as the viewers, as the audience. How did you actually meet Lenny? Because a lot of people have speculated that it was at this Halloween party. A lot of people, everybody's painting your story.
Yeah. I'm more than happy to answer any questions and shed more light onto any timeline that you would like to know about, because there really isn't anything to hide. So I moved to the United States right before the pandemic. I was living in Washington, D.C. at the time. However, since it's not the hot spot for modeling, if you will, I split my time a lot between Washington, D.C. and Los Angeles, Washington, D.C. and Miami, New York, just wherever my agencies were calling me to. So at the time, I spent a few weeks or months in Miami. So right before the pandemic happened, I just met Lenny out with friends. We were traveling in the same social circles and loosely stayed in touch on social media as acquaintances. And yeah, that's about it.
There were also a lot of rumors that when you met Lenny, you were still in your marriage.
Yeah, I was. I met him in 2020, and we were in the same, just near each other socially, and then separated from my former husband in September 2021 in Washington, D.C. I think a lot of the confusion comes in because I was not able to file for divorce right away because of the state laws. In Washington, D.C., the state law says you have to live for, I believe it's 6 months in separate households before you can file for divorce officially. So I started to live in a different household than him on my own in September 2021, October 2021, and then initiated my divorce proceedings right away, given that I contacted my divorce attorney, and all the communication from that point was only through my attorneys with him. And after like almost half a year, when I could have filed for divorce, initially I didn't, because I decided to just turn a new leaf and move to Miami by myself. And in Florida, there's no such law that you have a waiting period. However, you have to be a resident of Florida for at least 6 months. So then like, okay, great, another waiting period.
Another hurdle.
Then I finally filed technically even after Lenny. And then it was like it was a mission to get this man served in the first place. Like they had to hire like a private investigator, attempted about 12 times to serve him, but he was hiding out, it seems like. And but then ultimately we found a way around it. But for me, it just took like over a year to like file my divorce, even though I haven't spoken to the man. I lived in a different apartment by myself, and I think this is just where a lot of the confusion comes in timeline-wise.
You know, you and I had a conversation, and I was trying to better understand you and everything that you've been through, because to be fair, I think that social media has a way of kind of throwing us off. Like, we don't post the things that are terrible on social media. We post the things that are amazing.
Yeah.
Our lives are fantastic. Okay. We're having cake, eating pasta. Look at the background.
All the pasta.
All of the pasta. And you shared a story with me just of how much, like, where you started and how much you've been through. And I believe I told you that I think it's important to share that story, whether it's today or somewhere down through your journey, because I think that there's other young girls or young boys or anyone who might look at you and think, wow, this woman is beautiful. She has it all. She has this big house. She has this amazing modeling career. She has, but it's like they don't know the journey to get here. And I think that leads me to my next question of asking you, can you let us know what went wrong in your last marriage?
With all due respect, all my communications with my ex have been through my lawyer, because I want to leave this chapter behind me once and for all. And what you're asking me is involving another person who isn't here to speak for himself. So I would prefer to just leave that in the past where it belongs.
Okay. It seems like I'll take that.
Yeah, there's no... You're not gonna unhurt by putting, like...
More out there.
Yeah, more out there, and by trashing the other person, or just, like, trying to ruin their lives, or, like, making their family suffer. Like, it's just not me. So I had my reasons to walk away, but I've done my talking in court, and I've done my talking with immigration, and I won.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to leave this in the past where it belongs.
You're closing the book and you're putting it back on the shelf. All right. So from this point, now we've talked about Lenny, we've talked about the Real Housewives a little bit, and we're going to circle back to all of this again. And we've talked briefly about your ex-husband, but I want to get to know you. Who is Katharina, right? Like, what was your journey to the United States? What gets the fire going inside of you? Where are you? There's so much. So let's start from the beginning. For those who are watching, where are you from?
I'm from Vienna, Austria. My entire family is from Austria, and this is where I grew up, and I always had just this hunger to see the world and to learn about different cultures. And my biggest passion in life is traveling and seeing the world and learning new things and getting more perspective on life and different people and cultures. So when I was 14 years old, I went on an exchange year. I spent a year in Malaysia with a Malaysian family. I learned the national language, and from there, it just my drive and my hunger for adventure just grew from there. And I returned to Austria. I skipped a grade in high school. I continued to learn more languages. I speak 4 at this time, hopefully a 5th one day. And Then I started modeling when I was 16 years old, mainly because I just wanted to travel, because it's one of the few professions in the world where you can just go and you wake up and you have a different day on a different set with different people each and every day. And I think that's such an incredible blessing. So when I finished high school with 17, I did go to university in Vienna. However, I always worked on the side to support myself. And I moved to Singapore for a few months, worked in Southeast Asia, came back to Europe, and while still studying, lived in like all sorts of different cities in Europe. And I mean, I just have so many stories to tell from that time. Maybe for another day, maybe for something stronger than wine.
Yeah.
But I just feel very blessed to have lived on 4 different continents. And now finally my journey has taken me to the United States, and I'm just incredibly grateful to be here.
Was that for your family? Like, was that something that when you said, I have a dream and I want to be a model, was that normal? Or were they like, oh, here we go?
Yeah, I mean, for them, they were like, I come from I love my family more than words can say. They have a very different, maybe a more traditional outlook and a more traditional mindset. Both my parents are scientists. Both are extremely smart, extremely educated, but very, sorry, Mom, very like 9 to 5, if you will.
Which there's no problem with that.
There's no problem with that. But like, I just always wanted to see more of the world and follow my passion.
I mean, I feel like I've said the same thing to my family. My parents are very hard workers, very 9 to 5. And it was something that I never wanted. And they were like, good luck. Like, have fun. Like, pave your way. You can figure it out. And I was like, first I got to find a husband. And then after I find a husband, then I'll figure it out. But so modeling is a huge part of your life. And your career is a big part of your life.
Yes.
Right? But you have to have other passions. Like, for you, where do your interests lie? Like, is there anything that you're super passionate about, or any organizations that you have like teamed up with? Like,
absolutely, there's like a very long list. So personally, I have stopped to eat meat when I was 11 years old. I was at the time being like vegan for many years. Now I'm just like back to not eating meat. But animals and animal rights is something that's always been a cause extremely close to my heart. I've volunteered a lot in the past. Like, would spend my lunch breaks in high school. I was that girl, like with glasses and like a little like clipboard and like collecting signatures. That was me. And and I'm just like in more expensive clothes, in a more expensive house, but in my heart I am the same. And most recently I've been working with PETA, the animal rights organization, to help animals in labs that are being exposed to cruel experiments. So right now I am raising in a huge social media campaign awareness, funds and signatures to help animals in labs, more specifically mice. And I'm just like in the morning when I wake up and I think about making a difference in this field, like I get excited, it like ignites something inside of me. And Lenny's being very supportive of this, and he even agreed to let me do my own, like, it's going to be like an art installation at Halloween that I'm very excited about, to raise awareness and collect signatures to help mice who are currently trapped in labs to break free.
wow. And so for the famous Halloween party, the Hochstein Halloween party, you're gonna double that as an opportunity to...
Exactly. I mean, obviously this is an incredible party, which she has been doing for a very long time. So coming in, I'm just like, how can I contribute? How can I make this even more amazing? So yeah, I'm teaming up with PETA to raise awareness for something that really matters to me.
I love that. Now, I do want to jump back in a little bit and ask you, and please take a sip of wine for this one. I want to know, maybe 2. Honestly, take all the wine, because this question might throw you for a loop. And I just want it to be known, like, I was not going to give you the questions before coming on here, and I wanted to ask you the questions. I wanted it to be authentic. and I didn't know how you were going to react to them, and I don't know how you're going to react to this. But have you had any communication with your ex or Lenny's ex? I'm sorry, Lisa.
Zero.
Zero.
All the talking that I do with these people is through the court system and my lawyers.
Huh.
And that's it.
So there's no passing by, you don't see...
No, and like the media likes to paint this like image of like a cat fight, right? Like a back and forth, but there is no back and forth. There really isn't.
No. It is wild because Jason came up to me, maybe it was a week ago and showed me a page 6 post. And I think there were like 2 or 3. And it was, this wild interaction, argument that happened at this restaurant. And you have moved out of the house and you are, and we're at the house, like that's clearly not true. And that interaction, I'm guessing, didn't happen.
There was no interaction. Like there's not been an interaction for my behalf in a very, very long time. And I mean, like you read these articles, and I don't really know how to quite put it into context. But I think the best example I could come up with is like, how would you feel if like somebody sat across from you and they were like, Adam, you look so stupid with your green hair. Like your initial reaction would probably be like,
I don't have green hair.
As you're like, I don't have green hair. I don't know what you're talking about. And when I see these articles, like this is exactly how I feel because I know my truth. I'm very confident in who I am, and that's about it.
Okay, I mean, I think that's a really positive outlook to have.
Yeah. I feel like in life, it's all we can do. As you said, we cannot control other people. We can only control our reactions. And no matter what happens to me, I choose to view life as if it happens for me and not to me. And most importantly, on the dark days, I just give it my all to focus on the lesson and not the pain.
So, going back to the Rolls Royce, I wanted to ask you about this listening device that was placed. Can I say that? Was there a listening device in the car?
Yeah, there was a listening device that was planted in actually like another car.
Okay.
To listen onto presumably like my private conversations with my fiance or his conversations with his lawyer, like. But in the end of the day, it's just a very unfortunate breach of privacy, and yeah, my fiance is dealing with it in a legal way. So that's all really.
When you found out about, I don't mean to cut you off, but when you found out about that, was that like, what is going on?
Yeah, it's been like one of many very unfortunate breaches of our privacy.
Yeah, that's not like a normal...
It's not, and it shouldn't be normal, and I really firmly believe everybody has a right to privacy.
Yeah, I was going to get one of those pet cams to listen to my husband, but I decided not to. So I think like a listening device in the car, that's like, we're doing next level. So this is all being handled through court?
It is.
So then you don't know who would have put the listening device in the car. You guys can just only assume.
No, I would know because the person who did it accidentally recorded themselves. My assumption is listening to these recordings that we managed to download after all. It sounds like they didn't realize the listening device was on. So like this person is being heard doing like all sorts of things, and like I'm not gonna repeat any of that. I want the court to handle this, but also like being heard, like essentially planting the device. So I mean, like we all know like who it is, but I don't really think it's beneficial for anybody to sit here and expose somebody.
Right.
For their...
I mean, that'll happen in court.
Correct.
Right. I think that, I'm not going to, and I've gotten in trouble for this in the past, I'm not going to sit here and just like, give you all of the amazing flowers on everything, but I am going to say the fact that you are very open about how you don't want to necessarily expose people, but rather have things dealt with in court.
Yeah.
I think that is a great way to go about it, because we're here, we're right here. We have people right in front of us. You can say whatever you want to say.
Yeah, I could, but I'm not here to destroy anybody's life.
Right. I respect that. I respect that. So the next thing I wanted to ask you was, can you please clarify for us, you were accused of walking around the house when Lisa was still a resident here in your lingerie in front of the kids.
Thank you very much for this very difficult question, because it is not only something that I would like to put into context, it's also a prime example how something completely fictional is being made up into a story that was then being sold to the press just to create more turmoil.
Right.
So in this instance that you're referring to, my fiance's ex was in Europe traveling in July and August, I think. And her mom and aunt were here at the house. And I mean, I've been living all this time with my fiance in a condo nearby. But of course, whenever like she wouldn't be here, like he would be here every single day to watch after the kids, because he's a wonderful dad. And he at the time had asked me, hey, do you want to like grab your things and like essentially like move in, like spend time here for the time being? And I declined. I thought it wouldn't be like the healthiest to just like show up with like all my things like here, like when things are not finalized.
Right.
In that way. But I adore the kids. I love spending time with them. So I said, as a compromise, I'm gonna come here every day. I'm gonna see you every day. I'm gonna see the kids every day, which is what we did. And I did not want to spend the night. And I told him that unless I was invited by the children, because this is their home and nobody else's, and it will always be their home. So, I mean, I've grown to become extremely close with them, and they're a wonderful blessing in my life. And so I had brought like just like my things for the day, and in the end of the day, like they're like, don't go home, stay here, don't leave. And I was asked to stay like here at the main house, and I refused. I didn't think it would be like, I thought it would just be like perhaps a bit confusing for the kids, so I refused. And I said, okay, I'm gonna stay, but I'm gonna sleep in the guest house, which was like, I think a healthy compromise for everybody. So I stayed there, because the next morning we had like this whole like pool day and like adventure day and like exploring plan. And I slept in the guest house, and I got ready for the pool day. I was wearing a one-piece bathing suit, and from the guest house wanted to go to the kitchen to make myself a coffee, because without coffee I am useless in the morning. Let's just face it. So of course, as a courtesy, like I put on like a cover-up, like a solid, not skin tight, like just a cover-up dress underneath, on top of my bathing suit. And I went into the kitchen. There was, the kids certainly were not around this time. They were not, didn't see me. And I had a coffee, and the only people present were, I believe, Lenny and Lisa's aunt. And she decided to, unfortunately against my consent, and she decided to record me against my consent, and like secretly was taking pictures of me and videos. And it seems like this is what has been happening. Like this was not like a single instance. And I did not even notice. And how we found out is because these images that were taken against my consent, for them being shared with Lisa, who it appears that she sent it to the press with a completely fictional narrative claiming that I was like in lingerie around the kids, is what they said. And it's just,
so
there's
it wasn't
just zero
lingerie.
truth to that.
It was a bathing suit with a cover-up.
It was I was wearing a one-piece bathing suit, a cover-up, and the kids were nowhere.
Well, also, if you're in the pool with a one-piece bathing suit with the kids already, then...
Exactly, and yes, and we were getting ready for a pool day, and that's the end of the story. And then, of course, like, we learn about this because the page 6, I think, reached out to Lenny, and then, like, Lenny confronted Lisa's aunt. Why did you, like, record my fiance? And yeah, there was unfortunately a fight that escalated, and this person just said not only very derogatory, mean things to me and about me, but also just used foul language, and was realizing that she's losing like an argument, and even said some very nasty anti-Semitic things that I much prefer to not repeat. Marina was there, my future mother-in-law, and my heart was just breaking for these comments being made. And because of that, she was asked to leave the premises at the time.
So, okay, this whole thing has been, like, in the media, a circus. And obviously, in your life, it seems like you have a lot of positive. Aside from that was not positive. But in your life, though, it seems like a lot of things are going really well.
Yes.
But on social media and the internet, it's a lot of negative. But with the bad, there's also another side. And I think that that's why it was so important to have this conversation. Have you received any positive feedback from people who have said, like, I understand that maybe there's another side to this story, or I've been in your position?
I mean, to be fairly honest with you, like, I feel extremely grateful to have a global support system, not only on social media, but of course my family, my friends that are all around the world, and everybody who knows me in person and whoever sat down with me knows who I am. And most of all, ultimately, I'm confident in who I am, and I know my truth. So there's that.
Yeah. Also, the trailer came out, and now we have the first episode coming up of the new season of The Real Housewives of Miami. Let me ask you really quick. Last season, when that came out in the episodes with Lisa and Lenny and the back and forth and the comments, you better not have that girl in my house, and once people were able to identify you on social media, was the noise louder for you?
Yeah, for sure.
During the time of the show? And then did it quiet down?
I mean, there's been, like, unfortunately, a lot of... I mean, it's really interesting because I just hope that the takeaway from this conversation for people who are watching this is that to not just blindly believe everything that's on social media, like a one-sided fictional narrative that's maybe in the press or a scripted TV show. It's just not real reality.
Right.
But unfortunately, some people perceive it as such, and I think my message would be to people to exercise critical thinking.
Interesting. So it was, though, for you, just real quick to clarify, while the show was on and this was all playing out in front of all of the Bravo fans, I'm sure you received a lot more DMs, a lot more messages, as opposed to the show not being on. Is that correct?
It's absolutely correct, but to be fairly honest with you, I switched my privacy settings on Instagram, and I can only advise anybody who is being bullied online to change their settings so that, I mean, I don't even receive these hateful messages anymore because I have, like, the settings adjusted accordingly.
I get that.
Because I just think it's so important. In psychology, we say, like, your thoughts create your reality. And I think that what creates our thoughts is where we put our focus. And I choose to focus on light and positivity and not on hateful comments from any fake accounts. So just being very aware which knowledge you consume day to day, especially on social media, I think is very critical.
Makes a lot of sense. And now going into a new season, of the show? Are you worried about all of this controversy? Like, you don't know what's said, you don't film the show, you don't know anything that's gotten based off of the trailer. So far, so good. Like, there wasn't anything about you guys.
I wouldn't use the word worried, I think. Given the history, I almost expect many instances being taken out of context, but I understand, and I think most people understand, that the media has to sell, and if a storyline doesn't bleed, it doesn't lead, right?
Right.
So I think...
Did you say if it doesn't bleed, it doesn't lead?
Yeah.
If it doesn't bleed, it doesn't lead. Wow, I've never heard that. Okay. No, that makes sense. Now, from here, as we start to wrap up, I wanted to know, what do you hope, the viewers, because you have your own fan base, you have over 1 million followers on social media, you have your own, obviously it's your own following, but this is the Bravo fans. That's who's going to see this. This is going to be a fandom that you have tapped into based off of this conversation, your first interview, right?
My first, and I'm so happy to live with you.
Thank you. It's your first interview. What do you want them to walk away with from this conversation?
I think critical thinking and just, critical thinking and knowing that things are being always... I think everybody will understand that from a business perspective, the press has to sell, they have to sell clicks, and it's mostly not the truth that's being put out there.
Can I ask you too, this sounds like a really random question, but with everything that you have going on, and I think that it's so easy for people to look around you and say, this is beautiful, this is amazing, this is great. But that sometimes doesn't mean anything to us. Sometimes it's the littlest things that mean the most. But as just me talking with you and trying to understand you, what are you grateful for?
Because so much. I'm grateful to wake up healthy in the morning. I'm grateful for my relationship, grateful for the little superhumans that relationship brings into my life, grateful for my family back home. I am extremely grateful for, I think, everything I learned in my divorce and everything that I learned through the adversity with cyberbullying and being painted in a untruthful light. Just these lessons that I get to take away, such as, I've learned resilience, I've learned courage, I've learned forgiveness. And just focusing on that and what you can take away is something I'm extremely grateful for, because I think for me, it's just the only way to do life.
Is there anything that, based off of our conversation, because now we're talking, and again, a lot of people are going to see this, is there anything that maybe we don't know about you that you would want people to know about you?
Well, there's many things, but you just have to find out for yourself.
So we just have to keep digging.
Exactly.
I think that you gave us a lot with I just wanted to keep I'm selfish, so I just wanted to know. I'm not selfish, but
I don't think you.
I'm not. I'm really not. But I just wanted to keep digging, and I'm like, what more can I get out of you as far as but you have shared a lot. You had this really tumultuous relationship that you were able to get out of, and I think that there are a lot of people who can look up to that. You have traveled the world. You've lived in 4 different continents. Lived on 4 different continents. You speak 4 different languages. You still work, right?
Yes, I work. I shoot every day.
So just because you're now here and you're engaged, you don't plan on stopping working anytime soon?
I'm not going to give up my identity and who I am. And I think it's so critical to continue to have your own independence emotionally, financially, so you can just remain the person that you are when the other person fell in love with, but also just to be true to yourself always.
And my last question for you is, in this dynamic that you have, do you think that there's ever any chance of peace or reconciliation, moving on and having a blended family?
Yes, most certainly. For me personally, and I can of course only speak for myself, but I am already in this place. I am at peace. I am in a good mindset. And I think, and this matches more than anything said in this conversation, there's an incredibly powerful common denominator, right? Like the kids.
Hi.
And I think that eventually like, everybody's going to put that first, and the love for these little superhumans, because this is what they are, put that first. And I'm confident that everybody's going to be happy in the end.
Wow. I love that. We have a helicopter going over now, so we have a lot going on.
Get to the chopper!
Get to the chopper. There's the boats and everything, but
Yeah, this is the Uber I called for you and ready to go.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now.
It is taking me out of town, and I am going somewhere else. But seriously, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you for being vulnerable and honest and open. And I hope that a lot of people, I'm interested to see, you know that all of the comments and everything's not always going to be amazing, but they never are. So here we go. Let's get ready for the comments. But thank you.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you next time.